Hello, everyone. This is James from Film Snob Reviews. I'm sitting here with the writer, director, producer, editor, and lead actor for No Right Way, Chelsea Bow. Chelsea, how are you?
I'm good. I'm great. It's a beautiful day in Southern California.
It sure is. The sun is shining. Uh, I want to congratulate you on this achievement. I followed the production after seeing it, seeing how long it took to make, and just congratulations. It's now going through the festival run and
Thanks,
finally getting
man.
its stripes, you know? I'm sure it's a
Yeah,
good feeling.
it's been a journey, but yeah, it is really fun to share it with people and yeah, it's taken a long time, but I know I feel like it's the festival tour is coming to an end soon, and that kind of feels a little surreal and sad, but all good things I think come to an end, I guess.
Of
But the movie, I
course.
guess, will live on forever. So there's that.
Yeah, that's that's always there. So tell us a little bit about the picture.
Sure. Yes. So No Right Way is a dramedy. It's our sister movie. It's a story about supporting someone in the way that they need, not the way you think is right. A story about compassion. And yeah, it follows a 12-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl who gets taken away from her mom by Child Protective Services, and her older half sister Harper steps in to kind of uh, care for her in the meantime. And in the process of like stepping into the caretaking role, she tries to over control and fix everything and just ends up fucking things up further. So yeah.
Great way to surmise that perfectly. So how did this come to?
My younger half sister Alana was taken away from her mom, and we shared a weekend together that was really tragic and surreal. And a few years after, I hit her up and I was like, hey, how would you feel about turning that weekend we shared into a movie? And at the time, I think she'd just gotten into like an art school, but like in high school. I think she was like 14 or 15. So she was like a freshman, I think, in like a high school film school. And so she was really stoked about it. And the next 3 years, like I worked on writing it and sending drafts to her, and then finally I was like, all right, we just got to do this. We just got to like rip off the band-aid and make this thing, because I'd been talking about making my first feature for a long time, and you know, always like waiting and hoping that somebody would give me the money and help me make it, and that wasn't happening. So we were like, all right, let's just do it. My husband and I own a production company, and we were making a lot of commercials and stuff, but we were like really wanting to break into the narrative world. So we did it. And did I answer the question?
Oh, you did. You certainly did. And I have another one actually, because this interested
Then some.
me quite a bit. What was it like blending fiction with your real life experience?
Yeah, it was a lot of things. At first, the first version of the script was of course the closest to reality. But I think, some of the feedback I got was that my character in the original script was too passive, and too many things were happening to her, and she wasn't like active enough. So I kind of combined some characters and turned her into more of an antagonist than in the first script. So Harper does some things that I didn't do in reality. But I think that it makes the story stronger. There were things that like happened to me that I didn't have control over. And then in the actual film, I play Harper for the viewers who are listening to this. So it's not too confusing. But yeah, the things that happen to me in reality, like I made Harper decide to do those things versus them just happening to her. Um, so little stuff like that happened along the way. And then, yeah, I think the benefit of it is that it really, you can see and feel the texture of the world because we lived this experience. So, like the little details um that we experienced, we just wanted to incorporate into the film, and I think you can feel the realness kind of come through. So I think in that way it's like really helpful. And but
Certainly, like
also
sure, yeah, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say, like, it's also can be like kind of triggering and painful and confusing because there's some things that, I mean, I did write it so long ago. The experience happened even longer ago, and then I remember I wrote about it, and then because it changed, I think there was times where both my sister and I were like, did this actually happen, or did we make this up, or was this written? And we both have very different memories of the experience too, because we are both different ages and experiencing different trauma. And like a lot of times when you experience trauma, you block certain things out. So anyways, very layered answer for you. But yeah, it was, I think there's positive and negatives to like
Certainly.
turning your life into a movie or pieces of your life into a movie.
Yeah, especially when it's
What
about
was your
two
question?
characters.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
no, no,
yeah,
I
yeah.
was just because that's just a fascinating answer. Uh I was gonna ask about perspectives because it's Harper and Georgie, the two characters, and there's a generational gap there, and I think that's a very interesting thing to draw from because you'll have different views of something that happened, and to try and write it into one thing, I'm sure it was quite a task to do.
Yeah, definitely. And Harper and Georgie are like versions of my sister and I. It's definitely we're different than that. They're like, kind of caricatures of us or parts of us even, not even like fully us. So I think that, we both had to kind of dissociate ourselves from the characters a little bit. Um, and yeah, I think, we had long conversations after the movie that of just like processing everything that, because I think it was a lot harder than we both expected it to be. And we just had like some sister sit downs and we were like, hey, like now that we've had some breath from like shooting it and and it's gone through a couple versions of the edits, like how are you and how are you feeling? And yeah,
Always
just like
close, yeah.
airing, out just like some shit.
So you could say it was partially therapeutic in a bit doing
It,
this.
yeah, I think it definitely was. And I don't know, for whoever's been in therapy is not easy all the time. You have to like process some shit. So, but I think in hindsight, it feels a lot better. But in the process, it's not always fun.
And that kind of relates to the story of the film because
Yeah,
you go through quite some ups and downs. And I just
true.
gotta say, Ava's so great
I
as
know.
Georgie. How did you find her? How did that happen?
So our casting directors, Michael Donovan and Richie Ferris, found Ava. And I mean, the casting notice went out, and her agent submitted her, and she just did a beautiful audition. And at first, I always tell Ava's truly like a sister to me now. She was just over here yesterday.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, we see each other all the time. So now, but before we didn't know each other. Um, and I always tell Ava this, but when I was first kind of like snooping on her when her agent submitted her, I was worried that she was too like feminine and pretty. Because like you look at her Instagram and she's all dolled up and has makeup on, and I was like, I was worried she was gonna look too old. But then as soon as like I saw her audition tape, I was like really just blown away by, she brought a physicality to the character that nobody else had done in their auditions. And just kind of like a swagger that I was looking for. And she was kind of the only one who nailed that, like, yeah, kind of just like effortless, like swagger that my sister definitely has.
That's terrific. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. And how long did you guys shoot for? What was the period there?
Yeah, originally it was supposed to be like 16 days, and then we recast Harper.
Oh,
So
really? Oh, tell
yeah,
me more about this.
so we had another person acting as Harper for the first 4 days of the shoot, and um and it wasn't working, so I let her go, and then was acting in it the next week.
Did you
So
always have an inkling in your mind that maybe you'd step into the role, or
no,
you went
no.
full on?
Yeah. Other people were, when I was writing it, they asked me if I was going to act in it, and I was like, no, I really just want to focus on directing. Um, it's my first feature, and that was just so important to me to just nail the directing and like focus on that one job. But it was just an unfortunate situation where there was just a little bit of drama, and
Say no more.
yeah,
That's
and I just
enough to
wanted to
know.
have fun making my movie, and I was not having fun. And I talked to Ava and some other crew, and they all were really supportive of that decision. And so we pulled the trigger and we did it. And so yeah, we had to tack on another 4 days at the end of the shoot to reshoot the first 4 days.
Wow. Wow. And what's it like directing yourself as an actor then? Because you were prepared to direct someone else, but now you're stepping in. So
Yeah. It sucks. And I had done it before, and I swore to myself that I would never do it again. I had like co-directed a web series that I acted in, and it was just, I felt like my acting came last, and like because I was so focused on everything else, so I felt like my performance suffered in that web series. And so I was just like, never wanted to do it again. And then this happened, but the beauty of this was that I didn't, because this movie's also improvised, which means, for those of the listeners who don't know, basically there's a 40-page outline for the script, and then all the dialogue is improvised. So each scene has the beats that we need to hit, but then I give the actors the freedom to like find their own words. So because of the improvised nature of it, it allowed me to be extremely present in the scenes. And so I didn't really even have to worry about performance, as long as I was committed to being, in character and present. So in that sense, and it was also just like sink or swim. Like Ava was, is fucking incredible. Eliza is amazing. Sufi's amazing.
oh
And
yes.
so just the talent that I had casted already was so good. I knew that I just had to like step up my game when it came to acting. Like there was no time to like uh doubt. Like there's just like, yeah, it's like I needed to just step it up and like commit essentially. And I knew that what needed to be done. And so I was just like, all right, let's go. But I
Yeah.
had another producer on set being my eyes um behind monitor. And it was great because I was in deep denial that I was in the movie. So there was moments where, I'd get coverage of everybody and my producer Vivian would be like, Chelsea, we need to get a shot of you though for this. And I'd be like, no, 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 we don't need it. We don't need it. And she's like, Chelsea, we need it. Like, you're in this movie, you're a lead. And I'm like, no, no. And she's like, yes. And I'm like, okay, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's do
Was
it.
it at that point when you realized that you were indeed a very important part of this as an
Um,
actor?
no. I was in denial like way like we got accepted into our first or second festival and I was still in denial that I was in this movie.
Oh, so
Um
throughout the entire editing process,
oh yeah. I like
which,
completely dissociated.
yeah,
Yeah, so editing myself because I'm the editor of this movie.
yes,
I
ladies and gentlemen, she's the editor of this film. Wrap your heads around that.
Yeah. So yeah, I just completely dissociated. I was like, oh, that's somebody else. And I'm the director and editor and writer. And we gotten into like our first festival, and my husband producing partner was like, yeah, they want to do like an interview with you and Ava and Eliza. Or he said like the cast. He's like, they want to do an interview with the cast, Eliza, Ava, you. And I was like, why me? And he's like, cause you're in the movie. And I was like, oh yeah. Like it was wild. Even like when we were doing the titles, so, like in the very beginning, where like, the cast names pop up in the intro, like my name popped up like after Ava or whatever. And I looked at Sean and I was like, why is my name there? And he's like, cause you're an actor in the movie. And I was like, oh yeah, like it
At
was
that point.
such a bizarre like it's so crazy to say out loud because it obviously sounds like insane for me to be that deep in denial, but I was.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it took all the way until festivals for that to finally dissipate.
Yeah. Yeah. Like probably a couple festivals in where I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in this movie. I'm an actor in this movie. Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. And you're terrific in the role. The cast is amazing.
Thanks.
I'm sure that's a product of what you said about keeping your set uh, really fun, really happy. Were there any dance parties in between scenes?
um, you know, as much I would say it definitely wasn't as fun and stress-free as I wanted it to be. I think
Certainly.
because of like, yeah, because of just the nature of the content. I think some days were like, and then making an indie film is stressful, but it was easier moving forward once that other stress was out of the, situation. So I wish there was more dance parties throughout um the shooting, but we were just so exhausted and like, being on set, you're like running on no sleep, and
Yep.
every moment of every day you're like thinking about the next 5 days and like solving fires and like, so um in pre-production we had some like I would start the days when we were in prep, like in the office, I'd put on some fun music and we'd have like a little dance moment to kick off the days in pre-production. But once
Oh, that's
production
great.
started, it was just like or.
Yeah. Fueled by caffeine and Welch's fruit snacks, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Uh, oh, that's terrific. Yeah, because I noticed that so you completed the film and you
Yeah.
were submitting it to festivals. I noticed that there's this Indiegogo perk that you had, that if someone donated,
Yeah.
you do it, you dedicate a dance to them with a specific song. And that's the
Yes.
first time I've seen anything like that of a director doing that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. How many of those
Well,
did you do? Like,
I've done 70 so far, and I still have like 15 that I still need to do. Uh,
wow.
every day in my mind, I'm like, I should do a dance video today, and then I get swept away by like other work. So I still have about 15 more to go, and it's still, people can still donate because we're
Yeah.
still paying off this movie. But yeah, basically the idea is if you donate to our GoFundMe, you get to pick a song and I will dance my heart out to it. So, and usually it comes with some costumes and some ridiculous dance
Oh,
moves.
costumes. Well, I didn't know about the costume part. Well,
Oh
folks,
yeah.
come on. She's got 15 more to go. Make it, let's pump those numbers up.
Yeah. So please find it on our Instagram at No Right Way Movie.
Perfect. Yeah. We do. Hey,
Yeah.
the world needs more dancing for
Yes,
sure.
I agree. They're very goofy, and I need to turn them into TikToks. So I've been told by all the Gen Zers in my life. Um,
It is a
but
very popular platform, that's for
yeah,
sure.
I haven't figured out how to do it so that the music doesn't get flagged and get taken down. So
I think if you change the pitch of it or slow it down, you could evade them.
interesting.
I hope we're not being overheard by the TikTok overlords here, but
By China, we definitely are because we're on Zoom now.
oh man.
100%, we
Um,
are being surveyed by China.
have you gotten this film anywhere outside of the States?
We screened it in Victoria, BC.
Wow.
That is our first international premiere. And beyond that, no. What?
Is there still a possibility of it getting a release international?
Like you're talking about distribution or like festivals?
Like festivals.
There, there's we originally submitted to the Manchester Film Festival in the UK and we had gotten in, but then we said no because we were waiting for like a bigger premiere. So then that didn't happen. But we did apply to a festival in Greece, which would be dope. And Sean is the one who manages all the festival submissions, so he's the person who knows that information.
Certainly. Well,
Yeah.
when can we catch it next at a festival?
Well, I don't know when this podcast comes out, but this weekend
Soon.
screens in Kansas City. So
Okay.
April, if this comes out before April 13th,
13th. Yeah.
then all of those who are in Kansas City, Missouri, come on by. And then it screens in Indiana, in Indianapolis, at the Indie Film Fest sometime between the 24th and the 28th of April. I don't think we've gotten our date yet. I should look into if it's been scheduled. And then we have one more after that that we know of, and that is the Berkshire Film Festival. I hope that all of these have been announced because
Well,
otherwise you're gonna
if
need to edit
they're
this out. um,
okay.
and the Berkshire Film Festival is end of May, beginning of June, and that's in Massachusetts.
Oh, perfect, perfect, perfect. Boston folk, they can head over there. Well, that's
Yeah,
terrific. And you're hoping to get like that. Well, the festival run is coming to an end.
I
I'm
know.
sure.
I think
So,
we started in August of last year, so we're kind of trying to do the full August to August. So April, May, June, July. So like 3 more months. I don't even know if we have any in July, so maybe like 2 months.
all
Yeah.
right. Well, plenty of screenings to come, folks. For No Right Way, catch them in those
Yeah.
cities. if you can get the chance, because it's terrific. We'll have the review for Film Snob Reviews linked here on this video, so you guys can go read it, completely spoiler free, of course.
And thank you for the beautiful review. I
Well,
really appreciate
thank
it.
you. I meant every word, and it really would have been like an outstanding like standout of the year. I think it enters in those ranks.
Ah,
So I'm also wondering, like, what I know a lot of filmmakers go in wanting to make films with messages, or they have a certain idea, or
mhm.
sometimes they just want to go in and just make a film just to get the feelings out. Uh, what do you want people to feel from this?
Yeah, I think for this film, it's been really fun to see all the different takeaways that people have had. How I want to ask you, what did you feel when you like what aspect resonated with you?
Man, my favorite part of it was how everyone matures in such a way by the end, and the relationships that go through a certain rocky road. And like we were talking about earlier, it's a certain journey that's kind of rough, but at the end you look back and see that, in hindsight, you say, sometimes they say you look back and laugh at something. uh that's what I felt from it. But you're talking about perception, which I think is very interesting. Everybody has their own perception of it, of course.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you for sharing, your takeaway. So, yeah, I think, I've gotten teachers coming up to me saying like, "Oh, I feel like this film should be shown in schools." And I'm like, "What?" And their thought is that teachers, they want other teachers to have compassion for students who you never know what's going on in their home life. And like the teacher basically was saying like so many teachers don't have compassion for their students who are like falling, kind of slacking in school. You don't know what's happening at home. So I was like, oh, that's a fascinating takeaway from the film. And then, I have so many people who've been like raised by siblings who really like resonated with the movie and have certain, you know, what's the word when you're um, like a little bit of like resentment to some older siblings, but
Oh, I
you know,
see. Yeah,
as
yes.
time goes on, they have a bit more compassion for
Sure.
the older siblings. So
Grudge.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
like just like a lot of siblings have come up and said how it like really um they really connected with it because of their connection with their sibling. I've had people who've had parents in like recovery or friends or family in recovery who said they could obviously like relate to the aspect of like Tiffany. I've had people who've been in the foster system. Like it's just like
Wow.
had a really wide range of reactions. And even the most surprising was like a lot of older white men have
Really?
really enjoyed this movie, which blew me away because I never thought that would be my audience, you know. Not saying like, it's a sister movie, but I think that was like I had these older white men coming up to me after screenings at different festivals saying that, they were blown away by the film and it was one of their favorite festival films they'd seen. And I was just kind of like taken, was like, wow, I didn't know that it would even like affect someone like that, I guess. So, um, I don't know if I totally answered your question. Your question was, what do I want people to feel? And I think I kind of mentioned this from the get-go. I really, my purpose of what I want people to take away from this is like, I think what audiences tend to do when they're watching this movie is they make judgment calls pretty early on in the film, either siding with Georgie or siding with Harper, or, they make these like quick judgment calls, which is very human to do. And by the end of the movie, they kind of have a new perspective on the characters that they made quick judgment calls on. So I think that's, the true purpose of what I was trying to do with this film is like let the audience kind of reflect on how maybe to be more compassionate than like do quick judgment calls.
Yeah. Understand human beings a bit more.
Yeah,
And
we're
everyone.
complex, and it's really easy to just point fingers and be like, oh, you're wrong, or you're right, or you're entitled, or you're spoiled, or whatever, there's so much more, so many more layers.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Wow. So I want to end this off by asking you, what was your favorite moment, if you have any, during the shooting film?
Favorite moment during the shooting of the film. I mean, there's a lot of fun moments. I'm giggling because I'm thinking about like we did like a day and a half in Vegas, and to get like it was really important for me to get those like really early morning shots exterior of like the strip in the morning and all of its like filth and grime. Because
Yeah.
everyone sees Vegas at night and it's all lit up and pretty. And I was like, but what about in the morning when like kids are going to school? Like, what does Vegas
Yeah.
look like? And I think we got 1 hour of sleep because we went out the night before partying. And I will, my DP and I woke up and like grabbed our camera with 1 hour of sleep and like went and shot the Vegas Strip at like 4 in the morning.
Oh,
Um, and we were just delirious. And I was just laughing at the fact that I made him do that with me. That's not my favorite moment. It just makes me
it
laugh
sounds memorable. Very
thinking about
memorable.
it. Um, I would say Ava, there's like just funny like outtake moments where Ava, Georgie like makes some eggs in the kitchen, and there's a scene with her and I in the kitchen, and I'm like telling her about my work, and she's eating eggs with a spatula, and I couldn't take her seriously. And so there was like in that scene, I just kept breaking and she kept breaking, and she just had like chipmunk full like cheeks of eggs. And um the mooning scene is a fun one. We
Absolutely.
almost got kicked out of the park.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
that's
So we had a lot of like really silly, fun memories in our like delirious exhaustion as well. But yeah, I I think any scenes that I was in with Ava and Tiffany simultaneously were really fun. Like that's my favorite scene in the movie is when they go to Teddy's house and like
oh
things
yeah.
escalate. I think it's so funny. I know it stresses everybody else out, but I think that scene is hilarious.
I wish we had more time because we could do the Vanity Fair where you take like a marker and you circle the scene and you do the whole thing where you
Yeah.
go through it step by step. Um, maybe next time when No Right Way finishes its festival run, we can do another chat like this one.
That would be fun.
Um,
I'd be down. I could
yeah,
talk, forever about this movie, as any filmmaker could probably talk forever about whatever their movie is.
well, thank you so much, Chelsea, for coming on the Film Snob Reviews
Thank
podcast slash interview section we have.
Yeah.
And
Wait.
yeah. Folks, catch No Right Way. It's in its festival run right now, and it'll be just around the corner, coming soon. Chelsea, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me and taking the time to ask thoughtful questions.
Alrighty. Au revoir, everyone.